Why do invasive species seem to disappear once they reach China? Creatures that originally wreaked havoc on ecosystems somehow end up as delicious dishes on the dinner table. You'd never guess. The most tragic invasive species in history was this one. Hi everyone, welcome to the World in 10 Minutes series. Today, let's talk about the top 10 invasive species that suffered the most unfortunate fate after entering China. Sunfish, Lepomis macrochirus. The sunfish is native to the Americas. It typically grows to about 15 to 30 centimeters in length and weighs around half a kilo to 1 kilo. Not very big. Its body is round and flat, kind of like an oval. It has vibrant colors, a dark greenish blue on the back and bright orange on the belly. Overall, it looks like a chubby little piglet. But don't underestimate it. Sunfish are incredibly adaptable and have a crazy reproductive rate. They've been found in places like Qiandao Lake and Sichuan, spreading through multiple natural freshwater areas. They can spawn 4 times a year, so their population explodes rapidly. By the time people realized that sunfish were threatening native freshwater fish, it was already too late. However, we discovered that sunfish could be sold as ornamental aquarium fish. Plus, its flesh is firm and tasty, not dry at all. Soon enough, it ended up on dinner tables. Now, the sunfish has fully localized in China. As one netizen joked, the sunfish may reproduce 4 times a year, but I eat it 3 times a day. 9. African sharp-toothed catfish, Clarias garipinus. Locally called the bearded catfish, this species is native to Africa, a large freshwater fish known for its tough survival skills. An adult can grow up to 1 meter long and weigh over 10 kilograms, a real heavyweight. Its body is cylindrical, covered in slimy, sticky mucus, with 8 whisker-like barbels around its mouth. Its dorsal and anal fins stretch all the way to the tail. This fish is extremely hardy. It can survive in low oxygen, high temperature, and even lightly polluted waters. Its reproductive capacity is strong, and it has a decent level of aggression. After all, look at its size. It quickly dominated various waters in China. When it first arrived, people really disliked it. It looked nasty, and the fact that it could live in filthy ditches and garbage pits made it seem even dirtier. But in China, there's always someone brave enough to give anything a taste. To everyone's surprise, the catfish tasted great. It was abundant, easy to catch, and best of all, boneless. That was all it took to win people over. Soon, recipes using this catfish spread all over the internet. Even today, some restaurants in Guangdong offer full-course catfish meals. As netizens put it, ugly? Who cares, as long as it tastes good. 8. Marble goby, Oxyliotris marmorata. This fish is originally from Southeast Asia. It arrived in China during the 1980s and 90s and quickly spread throughout the Yellow River Basin. At the time, it caused serious concern among ecological experts in China. After all, in other countries, this fish had a track record of major invasions. But this time, our experts were overthinking it. From the moment the marble goby, also known as sunko fish, entered China 40 years ago, it didn't even get the chance to cause widespread trouble, because we ate it into endangered status. Its fate was sealed. No future, no escape. Why? Because this fish has tender white meat, no bones, rich in DNA and collagen, and has a naturally delicate flavor. Its amino acid content is 1.5 times higher than ordinary freshwater fish. People call it the freshwater grouper, and with a name like that, you already know it's delicious. Its short muscle fibers and evenly distributed fat make it perfect for steaming. Basically, a budget version of a grouper. Even better, if you slice it thin and serve it as sashimi, it has a bouncy, springy texture. It also works well deep-fried or with sweet and sour sauce. Today, if you want to eat marble goby, you'll have a hard time finding it in the wild. It's almost all farm-raised now. If the marble goby had known this was its destiny, it might have cried out, "I regret ever coming to China. I should have just stayed in Southeast Asia." Slanomeus 7. White jade snail. The name white jade snail sounds gentle and harmless, but in reality it's a highly destructive species, more dangerous than any of the fish mentioned before. Because of its ability to destroy crops, many countries around the world have listed it as a high-risk invasive species. But even as ferocious as it was, the white jade snail couldn't escape the fate of being eaten into near extinction in China. At first, when it was brought into the country, life was pretty good for the snail. Its meat was plain and unremarkable. Not tasty at all, so food lovers weren't interested, and most people ignored it. It was just a snail. Nobody cared if it multiplied in the wild. But this peaceful coexistence came to an end when the white jade snail's population exploded and it started damaging farmland and ruining crops. That's when people said, "This won't do. It's time to fight back." And in true foodie fashion, we applied the national policy of any invader, no matter how far, must be punished by being eaten. Through selective breeding and food tech, we upgraded the snail into version 2.0, improving the meat quality and turning it into a delicacy on the table. But that's not all. White jade snails also have medicinal value and can even be used in cosmetic products. As demand surged, people across the country hunted them in massive numbers. Before long, the white jade snail became an endangered species in China. As one netizen joked, "This isn't an invasive species. This is a VIP foreign guest." Arcoa 6, zebra mussel. This small shellfish, similar to a clam, is one of the most infamous invasive species that once drove Americans crazy. Native to the Black Sea region, zebra mussels have incredible adaptability and reproductive power, thriving in all kinds of freshwater environments. They survive by latching onto surfaces, parasitizing boats, pipes, and anything solid. They've made a name for themselves around the world with their aggressive invasions. In the US, for example, they once invaded the Great Lakes, shut down nuclear power plants, and disrupted shipping and cruise liners. They were a national nightmare. But in China, none of that happened. Why? Because in many parts of the country, people have a long tradition of eating shellfish, like river snails, conchs, escargot, and more. So when zebra mussels showed up, people didn't panic. They got hungry. They were loved from the start. Before the mussels could even think about overrunning the waters, they were already being eaten faster than they could reproduce. And here's the real kicker. Many vendors in China are now actively researching how to make zebra mussels reproduce faster to meet the high demand in the food market. American netizens seeing this could only comment, "To be continued." Today, let's continue and unveil the rest of the list. Chopper 5. Tilapia. Also known as the African perch, tilapia is now a very common fish in China. When I was a kid, I used to go fishing for it with my dad. These days, many anglers even have tilapia-only ponds. Tilapia are tough survivors. Even though they don't grow as large as the African sharp-toothed catfish, a fully grown one reaches about 30 centimeters. But they're broad and strong, and surprisingly resistant to disease. Basically, never get sick. They also have astounding reproductive power. After arriving in China, they quickly took over large sections of freshwater habitats. But their good days didn't last long. Just as tilapia families were thriving peacefully, humans discovered one crucial fact. Tilapia tastes amazing. Its meat is tender and delicious, with very few bones. Basically just one big central bone. That discovery changed everything. Soon, people were welcoming these overseas invaders with spicy stews, rich braises, and steaming hot platters. And thanks to their resilience and disease resistance, tilapia were perfect for large-scale farming. In just a few decades, tilapia successfully earned their place as one of China's most popular table fish. Today, their wild populations are under control, and most tilapia we eat are farm-raised. Orchid 4. Largemouth bass. The largemouth bass is native to North America and was introduced to mainland China in 1983. Its body is torpedo-shaped, flat on the sides with a big head and long jaw. Its back is dark green, its sides are bluish-green, and its belly is pale gray-white. But don't be fooled by its appearance. This guy has a nasty temper. It's highly aggressive, grows large, up to 10 kilograms, and has very few natural predators in China. Worse yet, it's omnivorous. And as we all know, omnivores are dangerous, humans included. Still, this big bully of a fish also happened to check the 3 key boxes: tasty meat, boneless, and abundant. So naturally, chefs across the country took notice. It was easy to prepare and diners loved it. Soon, dishes like spicy boiled fish and pickled fish stew started using largemouth bass as the ideal choice for texture and flavor. One can only imagine the bass thinking, "I thought moving to China would be a fresh start." Turns out, life here is even tougher than back in North America. Oysters. We're so used to eating them that many people forget. Oysters are actually an invasive species with insane reproductive power. A single oyster can release up to 4 million eggs, and they have a unique superpower. They can switch genders based on their environment and age. When they're young, over 90% of oysters are male, whose job is to release sperm into the water. As they grow, their bodies change. Their ovaries develop and fill most of the internal cavity, causing their sex to shift from male to female. This rare ability to switch gender makes oysters reproduce at terrifying speed. But then, someone in China coined the phrase, "Oysters are fuel for men and skincare for women." That line alone sealed their fate. For 24-hour BBQ stalls and night markets, even oysters' supercharged reproduction isn't fast enough. In 2022 alone, China consumed 6.06 million tons of oysters. That's approximately 30.3 billion oysters, which accounted for 70% of the world's oyster consumption. For us in China, wild oysters simply aren't enough. We had to ramp up artificial farming just to meet demand. And with that, the humble oyster firmly took its seat among the top 3 most tragically doomed invasive species. R2. American bullfrog. Also originally from North America, the American bullfrog can grow up to 20 centimeters long. Its skin is thick and rough, greenish-brown in color, covered in dark blotches, with strong muscular hind legs built for powerful jumps. As a nocturnal amphibian, it's both aquatic and terrestrial, with a very broad diet. It eats insects, fish, small mammals, and sometimes even other bullfrogs. It thrives in water temperatures from 0 to 35 degrees Celsius, and a single female can lay up to 20,000 eggs at a time. That's not quite oyster level, but among frogs, it's a lot. When bullfrogs were introduced to China in 1959, they had no natural predators here. They quickly spread through southern wetlands, and their hunting habits devastated native fish and frog species. For example, in Dianchi Lake, Yunnan, native fish populations dropped by about 60%. To make matters worse, bullfrogs secrete mucus that contains Aeromonas hydrophila, a bacterium deadly to many amphibians, making them a serious ecological threat. But bullfrogs also have a redeeming quality. They're low in fat and high in protein. Every 100 grams of bullfrog meat contains 19.9 grams of protein, almost the same as beef, but with only half the fat content. They have a unique, tender texture and are considered healthy. In China, discovering something that's both delicious and nutritious is a rare and wonderful thing. So from that moment, their fate was sealed. By 2022, China produced about 1.8 million tons of bullfrog, with a market value of over 50 billion RMB, accounting for nearly 90% of global bullfrog consumption. On average, every hot pot restaurant in China consumes over 200 kilograms of bullfrog per day. We now have advanced bullfrog farming technologies, and wild populations are strictly controlled to avoid further ecological damage. As netizens joke, "I heard you ruled the wetlands in North America. Come here. Let us teach you how to behave." 1. Crawfish, aka crayfish. Yes, crawfish are an invasive species too. Originally from the southeastern US, they grow to about 5 to 15 centimeters with dark red shells, large heads, and 2 pairs of powerful claws. Their abdomen is packed with muscle. They're omnivores with huge appetites. Each one eats about 10% of its body weight every single day. Introduced to China from Japan in 1929, crawfish spread very quickly. Their digging behavior often caused rice paddies to collapse, with some areas reporting over 30% collapse rates. They also chew on aquatic plants, weakening natural water filtration systems, and they carry the crayfish plague virus, which threatens native crustaceans. In short, crawfish are a serious threat to ecosystems. But everything changed in the 1990s when farmers in Qianjiang, Hubei province, discovered that crawfish meat is incredibly tender and tasty. Lab tests showed crawfish meat contains 18.9% protein and only 0.8% fat. So local farmers created a new agricultural model, rice crawfish co-farming. With smart field layouts, a single paddy could grow rice and raise crawfish at the same time. As crawfish entered the market, chefs around the country started experimenting, eventually perfecting the famous spicy crawfish dish, which became a nationwide sensation. By 2023, China's annual crawfish production hit 3.16 million tons, over 90% of the global total. The market size exceeded 450 billion RMB. Spicy crawfish became a street food icon, giving rise to an entire night market culture. Unconfirmed stats say that one BBQ stall or night market vendor can go through over 500 kilograms of crawfish per day, 2.5 times more than bullfrog. So yes, crawfish now sit firmly on the throne as the most tragically doomed invasive species in history. Ontikur. My final thoughts. While we've had some laughs about the fate of these top 10 invasive species, the issue of invasive species is no joke. Not all invaders can be eaten into submission. Species like the apple snail, the suckerfish, and the armor-plated catfish have caused real damage and remain difficult to manage. That's why it's so important to develop targeted control methods, and more importantly, to strictly regulate the sources of these invasions. Let's all do our part to protect our environment from being overrun by these uninvited guests.